Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, World Cup protesters are staging on King County property inside one of their buildings, as a matter of fact. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
Into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
So going into the weekend, President Trump promised that there would be a peace deal regarding Iran. Kept saying we were close and close and close. And I know a lot of you tune into the show because you want the perspective on what's going on in the Middle East. And unfortunately, I have some very, very bad news for you. Nobody's seen the deal yet. Sunday, big announcement from President Trump. We have a deal. We're ready to go. We can open the strait. Ships are going to be coming and going. Yeah, nobody has seen the deal yet. I assume President Trump has seen it. I assume Vice President J.D. Vance has seen it. I assume Marco Rubio has seen it. But they haven't released it to the media yet. In fact, they haven't released it to anybody yet. So there's a lot of speculation about what actually is in the deal. Let's go through what we want. By that, I mean you and me, the American taxpayer. Iran has been a terrorist threat since 1979. They have killed thousands of Americans. So we do not want them having a nuclear weapon. We do not want them pursuing a nuclear weapon. We do not want them buying a nuclear weapon. We do not even want them having the remnants of their nuclear program that were blown up by the bombers. We don't want that. That's number one. Two, we don't want them sponsoring terrorism. We don't want them sponsoring Hamas. We don't want them sponsoring Hezbollah. We don't want them sponsoring the Houthi rebels. We don't want them sponsoring any terror at all. Three, we don't want them shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Don't want that. Four, once all those things have reached, we would like them to re-enter the world economy as normal people. Look, there are a bunch of terrible nations in the world economy right now, like Qatar. And yet they still participate in the world economy and don't really have to worry about what they're doing. That's what the U.S. wants. That is what the U.S. wants. What does Iran want? Well, Iran wants to be able to continue enriching uranium so they can develop a nuclear weapon. Iran wants all their assets unfrozen. Iran wants billions of dollars from other countries. And Iran wants to continue funding terrorism. Iran also wants to have the leverage over the Hormuz Strait, which they can close at any time to send the rest of the world oil market into crisis. I don't know who won yet. I see President Trump saying it's a win for America. I don't have anything to show me that it is. I see Iran claiming all these things that would make it the worst deal ever made. In fact, if anything Iran says is accurate, this is worse than Obama's nuclear deal. But I learned a very long time ago, don't believe anything Iran says ever. Iran has never won a war, but they have also never lost a negotiation. So who actually is winning here? Now, if the U.S. packed up their bags, picked up their ball, and went home today, the U.S. wins, sort of. What do I mean by that? If the U.S. says, okay, we're leaving the Persian Gulf, we're taking all the ships out, you can have the strait back, just reopen the sucker, and we're out of there, guess what? We set back their nuclear program by decades. We destroyed a whole bunch of their infrastructure. We took out multiple levels of their government, and we took out their Navy, their Air Force, everything else. That's a win. Is it the complete and total victory? Is it that? No, it's not. But did we eliminate the short-term threat? Yes, but it just means somebody else is going to have to go clean this up down the road. If you don't remove the sanctions, and if you don't give them any money, and if you don't give them a $300 billion to rebuild, then they're going to be just as worse off with their economy as they were before this. In fact, they'll be infinitely worse because now so many things have been destroyed. and they have to rebuild them. So they'll be in bad economic shape, and a wounded animal is very, very dangerous. And I will argue, while it's a win, it is not the complete and total victory we were promised. But we don't know. We don't know. What's the worst case scenario here? The worst case scenario is what Iran is pushing online is actually true. Is that the U.S. is going to relieve all sanctions in exchange for them opening up the Strait of Hormuz, which they can toll anytime they want, and the U.S. is going to unfreeze their assets and give them $300 billion to rebuild all the stuff that we blew up. I find it exceptionally unlikely that that is actually what we are doing. I find that very, very unlikely. Little pieces keep filtering out here and there. For example, J.D. Vance was on TV earlier today, and what he said is actually the Gulf states would be giving them the money to rebuild. And look, if other countries want to give them the money to rebuild, that's on them. Do we like that? Well, as long as they're not helping them build weapons, ballistic missiles, nuclear infrastructure, nuclear enrichment, uranium enrichment, then I guess we're okay with that. But this is a question of what is actually in the deal. We don't actually know. And then you've got another problem. Hezbollah is still attacking Israel. Now, is that the U.S.'s problem? No, that is Israel's problem. But Iran funds Hezbollah. Hezbollah continues to attack Israel, which means Israel is going to continue to retaliate against Hezbollah. And Iran keeps saying this is all part of the same war. No, it's really not. It's really, really not. Hezbollah right now is Israel's problem. Have they been America's problem? Absolutely. Do they chant death to America? Absolutely. Have they killed hundreds of Americans? Absolutely. So they are America's problem. And Iran is basically, they're doing the same thing Democrat politicians do when they get caught posting something on social media. Oh, that's not us. That's my personal account. That's my personal account over there. You mean your proxy that fights wars for you, which you fund? Yeah, that's still a problem. Over the weekend, it is Iran. Over the weekend, Hezbollah launched a drone attack on Israel. Israel retaliated against Beirut because if missiles were coming over the border from Mexico into Texas, Trump would napalm Mexico. But what happens instead? Trump says this morning's attack on Beirut should not have happened, particularly on a special day when we are so close to a peace deal with Iran. Okay, President Trump, I love you and all, but if they're still attacking, if their proxy is still attacking Israel, who's been fighting side by side with the U.S. in this war against Iran, whose side do you want to come down on? The terrorist regime and the number one state sponsor of terror, the terrorist organization that's killed hundreds of Americans in Lebanon, or the guys who've been fighting side by side with us to eliminate this world threat? President Trump continued, Israel has the right to defend itself against threats, but the attack it was responding to is very small and meaningless. Nobody was hurt, injured, or killed, and should not disrupt this important process. That's Iran thinking to themselves, how much can we poke the bear? How much can we poke Israel before they poke back? How much can we get away with? You remember at the beginning of the ceasefire? It was, oh, well, we didn't have time to tell everybody about the ceasefire. Oh, well, we couldn't get a hold of everybody about the ceasefire. So they kept launching at Israel, launching at Israel, launching at Israel. They did the same thing in launching at U.S. bases in our Gulf ally states. So, yeah, that is a big deal. And that's Iran telling them to do it because Hezbollah doesn't do anything without Iran's direction. So that's them trying to see how far they can push their limits, but also trying to see how far they can drive a wedge between Netanyahu and Trump. So you say you're close to this deal, but let's be real about it. Nobody's seen it yet. He says there should be no more attacks by Israel anywhere in Lebanon, but there should also be no more attacks by any other party, including Hezbollah, against Israel. Amen. This could be the beginning of a long and beautiful peace. Let's not blow it. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. So then he comes out with the peace announcement, right, on Sunday. The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow. Well, that's not entirely true because the blockade is still there. That's not entirely true at all. In fact, our ships are still there, and this is just a memorandum of understanding. This is not a peace deal. Do you know what a memorandum of understanding is? A memorandum of understanding is like when the dealer says to you, hey, you really like that car? And you say, yeah, I really, really, really like that car. And he goes, okay, here's the price on the car. And you go, okay, but I want this price. And he goes, well, I want that price. And you go, I want this price. And he goes, all right, if you sign on this price here, I'll take it to my boss in the back. And I'll stand there for 3 hours while you stew out here because that's a sales technique. That's what we're going to do, right? We're going to do that. And then we'll come back and we'll see if we have a deal. We're nowhere close to a peace deal yet. You can sign this thing on DocuSign. You don't need a big signing ceremony in Switzerland. And then it ties this administration and J.D. Vance to the IRGC, which is still in control of Iran, which is still a terrorist organization. You're going to make a deal with these guys? You're not signing it with some moderate member of their parliament. You're signing it with a member of parliament who represents the IRGC. So what's in this memorandum of understanding? What's actually in it? We don't know. Well, then here comes Pakistan. Shahbaz Sharif, who's one of their parliament members, says, following intensive talks, we are pleased to announce the peace deal between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran has been reached. Both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. Hang on. Did you leave somebody out there? So you want to talk about Lebanon? Hezbollah still attacking Israel. If Hezbollah is still attacking Israel, Israel is not going to stop attacking Hezbollah. So until that is settled, what are you talking about? He says the official signing ceremony will be on Friday the 19th of June in Switzerland. We would like to thank the United States of America, the Islamic Republic of Iran, for the commitment to finding a diplomatic solution to the conflict. We would also like to extend our sincere appreciation to our brothers in this mediation effort, the great leadership of the state of Qatar for their support in reaching this agreement. I'd also like to thank the visionary leadership of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Republic of Turkey for their immense contributions in this regard. Did you leave somebody else out there? So you have a deal which doesn't involve Israel. So how do you actually have a deal? Israel is still blowing the crap out of Hezbollah because they're still launching rockets and drones at Israel. You do not have a deal yet. You can say that you do, but you don't. Turkey funds terrorism. Saudi Arabia, it's which way is in our best interest? That's who we're going to back. And Qatar? Qatar was harboring the heads of Hamas after October 7th. And Qatar was making their demands about when hostages should be released. Pakistan, by the way, is basically just a shill for China. China wants their oil going through the Strait of Hormuz or they're in big trouble. So you have a shill for China, a terrorist country, another terrorist country, and a country that, well, are we going to back the terrorists today or are we not going to back the terrorists today, saying the war is over. Why should I believe any of this? I shouldn't believe a word of what anybody is saying right now. Now, do I sound mad? Well, I always sound mad. But here's the truth of it. Whatever you're seeing online, whatever anybody has said online, it's complete BS. It's like April Fool's Day out there. Do not believe anything. Half this stuff is Iranian propaganda. Half the stuff, can't believe I'm using this terminology, half the stuff is American propaganda, saying we don't want to say we gave on anything and we want the economy to improve. So right now, you can't believe anybody. What does the actual document say? And apparently this thing has already been signed on DocuSign or Google Docs or whatever it is according to CNN. So then tell us what's actually in it. Why the delay? Why won't the administration tell us what's actually in this thing? So we've gotten little bits of pieces here and there. Here's the vice president talking about what might be in this thing, in theory, but we haven't actually seen it.
Yeah, Gail, as you know, sometimes with these agreements, there are some diplomatic protocols, some technical things to work out. But we plan to release the full text this week. We want the American people to see it. But we've also seen, of course, some misreporting about what's actually in the agreement. We've seen some accurate reporting about what's in the agreement. I think the most important thing for the American people to appreciate is that what this agreement does is really twofold. On the one hand, it ensures that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon while simultaneously opening the Strait of Hormuz. You already see oil prices from a high of $126 a barrel down to about $80 a barrel today. That's a lot of progress. But it also, Gail, fundamentally extends a hand to Iran and says, look, if you guys are willing to honor your obligations, if you're willing to allow real inspections of your nuclear program, then we will welcome you back into the world economy. I think what the President of the United States wants to do is turn over a leaf of 47 years of a failed relationship between the United States and Iran, but that requires the Iranians to actually honor their end of the bargain. So when people say that billions of dollars of assets will be released, that's not true. What is true is that Iran will have a much better and much more prosperous future if they meet the obligations they make in this agreement. We'll, of course, see. That's one of the things we're going to work out in the technical talks that will follow the official signing on Friday.
Okay, do you know what I took away from that? The deal's not done yet. So what did you guys actually sign? What did you actually sign? I have no idea. I take away from that the deal isn't done yet. And if there's still technical things to work out, is there even a deal? Are we going to get to Friday and then J.D. Vance is supposed to take off in Air Force Two, and then once again, there's no takeoff that day because you are negotiating with a terrorist regime? Now, we may come out of this, and I may say this is the best deal I've ever seen. The greatest deal. Never seen anything like it before. Or I might say this is the worst deal I've ever seen, or it might just be, okay, status quo. We don't know yet. We don't know because they haven't actually shown us what's in it. Now, if they say you get all the stuff based on performance, then fine. I got no problem with that. Saying, hey, Iran, if you stop attacking ships in the Strait, then you get this. And if you stand down Hezbollah, you get that. And if you give us the uranium, you get this. Okay, fine, I'm okay with that. Is it the perfect world? No, but we don't live in a perfect world. Is that really the direction we're going in here?
Well, we already signed the deal digitally yesterday, and there's been no money released, and that won't change, George. Again, this is a performance-based thing. If we see the Iranians making, for example, taking action to eliminate their stockpile of enriched material, then yes, sanctions relief will follow. If we see the Iranians taking action to allow the kind of verification regime that we need to see to know that they're not going to build a nuclear weapon, yes, sanctions relief will follow. So this is really about walking down a pathway here where the Iranians will be welcomed into the world economy if they do the right thing. And George, we have to remember, their economy is fundamentally destroyed. Their nuclear program is fundamentally destroyed. If they don't do the right things, if they don't allow the verification regime, they're never going to have the money to rebuild their nuclear program to begin with. So this is fundamentally a win-win for the American people. What the president has said is he wants it to be a win for the Iranian people as well, but that requires some real trust building and some real positive conduct from the Iranian political system. We're going to see if that happens. If it does, they're absolutely going to find the president of the United States and the entire team a willing partner to make their country more prosperous.
But can you actually trust them? We have 5 decades of that answer being no. You cannot trust the Iranian regime. Doesn't matter which Ayatollah is in charge. You can't actually trust them. So where does this leave us? Right now, we don't know. When we get the document, when we get the details, we will go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But right now, I'm going to leave you with this advice. Believe nothing. Nothing you're seeing online from anybody. Nothing anybody is saying in interviews. Don't believe anything. For all you know, there is no deal right now. Because come Friday, there may not even be a signing if they don't agree. Believe nothing. until you actually see it in writing, until it's been agreed upon by both parties. And this is the official memorandum of understanding. And even if you get that memorandum of understanding, that's not a peace deal. That's just that little initial next to the dollar amount you gave the dealership. He's still got to take it back to management before you get to drive away with that car. That's where you're at in this process. We got a long way to go, my friends. We are not near the end of this by far. We'll keep you updated as we get the information, but until we get that information, just like April Fool's Day, believe no one, trust no one, except for maybe me. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, why are activists renting out storefronts from King County across from the World Cup to protest? Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Well, it's official. The World Cup is underway here in Seattle. And last night, I went walking the streets of Seattle with our friends Jonathan Cho and Andrea Suarez. And something we discovered was kind of troubling, so here's a story you're not going to get anywhere else.
Talk Radio 570 KBI, an Ari Hoffman Show exclusive.
Last night, Jonathan Cho and Andrea Suarez took me out to multiple drug encampments in the Chinatown International District, on Beacon Hill. And then afterwards, we went over to the stadiums to see what that area was like for the World Cup. We wanted to see if Seattle was ready for the World Cup, and my answer is no, it is not. In fact, I'm a little bit more concerned. I'm more concerned now that the problems are going to be coming from activists rather than any terrorists or any other crime. Because while we were down there last night, we're walking around near where the Embassy Suites is on the backside of Seattle Stadium, as they're calling it now, where the giant parking lot is over near Pioneer Square. And we saw an empty storefront. And this empty storefront is where the activists are literally staging their gear for the protests. Give a listen to Jonathan Cho's report that we did together last night.
Building is owned by King County. I went and spoke to one of the other people who's renting space over here. King County rented them this space for the World Cup, which means guess who's getting a request for comment?
So Ari Hoffman and I are, doing last-minute checks on the city before the first World Cup match here in Seattle. And we're now in Pioneer Square, and we stumble upon this building that is apparently owned by King County.
There's a storefront here. And in the storefront are all the signs for the activists. And if you look inside, there's piles of their placards in there.
Megaphones.
The megaphones there? They have a
Yeah.
table of megaphones.
Yep.
Which means they are getting ready to use this as a staging area for the protests for the World Cup. Now,
On the ground floor, we see all these signs by Local 8. It's apparently a workers' union, and they plan on protesting the Embassy Suites. They're asking for better wages, a better contract. They hate ICE, they hate Trump. And of course, it's likely being led by Shama Sawan and all her people. At the very least, bring attention to their cause.
right near King Station, right across from Lumen Field, in the heart of Seattle, they are ready to go, and this is their staging area.
Well, okay, so here's what's so crazy. King County needs to make sure there are no disruptions whatsoever. And yet, this is a King County building, so either King County gave these far-left activists the property to use, or they rented it.
Right, so who paid the bill for a corner retail space across from the stadiums for the World Cup?
This makes
or
no
who
sense.
Gave it to them?
So we're going to try to get to the bottom of this. We need to figure out, again, this group, did they actually get this building for free from King County, or are they renting it?
I'll tell you something else. Guaranteed nobody else in the media is checking on this story because nobody else in the media is covering any of this. They're not checking out the drug encampments. They're not walking the streets. It's just going to be, yay, America, yay, sports, yay, this, yay, that. Instead of covering what's actually happening in our city, where a King County building is renting space to an activist group determined to disrupt the biggest event we've had here in years.
You might actually know this storefront. It's the old Kingdom Deli. And now, not just that they have the placards on the ground, not just that they have banners and signs everywhere, but also on the old deli counter inside, there are buckets of pots and pans. They have the bullhorns sitting there on the tables. And outside, there are all these flyers for Shama Sawant and rent control. And there's all these signs for Antifa comparing MAGA to Nazis in the 1930s. You think all the activists aren't going to be using this as their staging location? It is literally steps away from the stadium. Steps away from the stadium. Now, Seattle Police Department, young Zach is out in the field, he sent us pictures today, has set up these designated protest zones where the protesters get to be. Do you have any faith that the protesters are going to remain in these zones? Do you have any faith whatsoever they're going to stay there? Because I actually think as of right now, unless we hear otherwise, this is the biggest threat. And here's something else. If King County owns that building, you have Teresa Mosqueda, who's one of the biggest protest champions. She's on the King County Council. Did they give them that space for free? Is it just some county lackey who doesn't even know who he's renting to? If they're actually renting it, who's paying for a corner space across from the World Cup? I have many questions, and it'd be really nice if a representative from King County would get back to us, but they haven't yet. I wonder if they didn't think anybody would actually uncover this. I don't see anybody on the mainstream media reporting on it. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's going on, man?
Can you spell campaign violation?
We have to know who's actually doing it first before we can make that accusation. But, yeah, I'm curious about that myself.
I have a pretty good suspicion, and I just wanted to say, hey, look, we can't believe anything the Democrats say any more than we can believe anything that these terrorists overseas are out here spewing, because they're on the forefront of all this nonsense. And I think that maybe in the future when we negotiate with the Democrat Party, we need to do it like Trump and make damn sure that if they don't do what they say, we have ramifications to stop anything that we had going on with them, just like the rest of the terrorists in this country and the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're negotiating with a terrorist organization. What happened to not negotiating with terrorists? Ron, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Dan says the IRGC still exists. They're the Black Knight, Baghdad Bob, the Knights who say knee, and a crazy Sicilian. I see where you're going with that. I say we should Mortal Kombat them. Total annihilation. Yeah, see, this is the issue. This one here, John in Lakewood says, I'm hoping Trump is still playing 5D chess and can prove it by ending negotiation now, resuming kinetic action till Iran's destroyed, take over Karg Island. Waste Iran till they unconditionally surrender, which is what we were promised. Here's Rob in Lakewood wants to know why King County owns retail buildings. Well, actually, I think it's offices above, and I think there's retail underneath. But you should be asking yourself, how much space does King County actually need for their offices? Yes, that's a very good question. A very, very good question. El Darthbo says until the mullahs or whatever they are called sign a solemn pledge renouncing death to America, death to Israel for all time's sake, then President Trump should take a bucket of sand to this meeting in Switzerland on Friday with instructions for the Iranians on how to use it. And if they are too dumb to figure it out, tell them to pound it. Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus from everybody over on the KVI text line today. When we come back, my friends, big UFC fight on the White House lawn. And yet the left is all mad about it, saying we're disgracing the White House. I seem to remember a few events where you guys did other things at the White House. Tell you all about it when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I'm not a big UFC guy. I probably can't name any of the fighters who participated last night, but the pageantry surrounding the fight was incredible. Absolutely incredible. At the beginning, where you've got members of the armed forces in the crowd, and you've got the motocross on the White House lawn, and you've got that massive flyover of the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds perfectly timed for the end of the national anthem. It was incredible. Did you see the dopey smile on Dana White's face? I mean, whether you like the guy or not, he's like a kid in a candy shop just watching that. And then at the end, with the fireworks going off everywhere, it was amazing. It was amazing. American flags everywhere, Americana everywhere. And if you're mad about a fight on the White House lawn, Teddy Roosevelt was literally in a bout that he hosted on the White House front lawn. So I don't want to hear about it, Hillary Clinton. You talk about defiling the White House. Can we talk about the Oval Office for a second? Can we talk about stealing cutlery? Can we talk about stealing furniture? Or how about Joe Biden with his naked trans people on the front lawn? I don't want to hear about defiling the White House. Now for the actual UFC review of this portion, we go to Mr. KVI himself. Kevin, what did you think of it?
I don't really watch that garbage anymore.
I thought you like all that
I
stuff.
used to, but now they've kind of watered it down. They've got new owners and everything. There's like 1, 2, 3 a weekend. They all wear the same stuff. I can't keep, but I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
The main event was really solid. Justin Gaethje doing his thing. Wasn't supposed to win. Some places had him a 6-1 underdog. Pulled it off and beat Ilia Topuria, who's been like, people think of this generation, one of the best out there. It broke him down. The guy quit on his stool.
Awesome.
Pretty amazing night, yeah.
See, these are things I don't understand because I didn't even watch the fight. I watched everything in the beginning. I watched everything at the end. And then I watched a few of the, like this moment where one of them, what's this guy's name? Josh Hokett? Is that his name?
Yeah. See, I don't know. He's kind of an up-and-comer heavyweight guy.
Yeah.
He's undefeated. He's very performative. He did some stuff at the weigh-in. He came out pretending he was drunk, vomiting on himself.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what this has become to me. I like the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I like the skill of it. But then now everything's performative.
Yeah.
You got to get clicks because guess what? They're not paid very well.
I was going to say, that would be my guess too. So he was clearly going for the clicks. And I actually think, as funny as this was, it's so performative, I think it actually took away from the event, and I'll tell you why President Trump thought so in a second. Here's what he said after the bout.
And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man.
Okay. He gave Trump his necklace, this big gold gaudy thing, and Trump actually took it off after that. Because even Trump's like, dude, really? We host you here and you kind of embarrass your host and you're just doing it for the clicks?
Yeah.
Aside from that, it was pretty spectacular, I thought. It was pretty awesome.
Alex Pereira lost. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
You know.
So was that expected?
No. I mean, kind of. He's a kickboxer. He won the middleweight belt. He's won the light heavyweight belt, and he was trying to jump up to heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
And get an interim belt there.
Yeah.
That's that's unheard of, by the way. Jumping up that many weight classes in a short amount of time. Couldn't get it done. He got knocked out.
Gotcha. But watching the fight, when you're actually watching the fight, did it look like a normal fight aside from the background? It looked like the normal deal, the same kind of stuff?
Yeah. Actually, even with the claw is what they're calling it. That
the big
kind
thing
of dome
overhead.
structure.
Yeah.
It kind of almost seemed like you were in an arena.
Yeah, visually it was spectacular. And also the left going, oh my God, it's going to be a mosquito infestation and it's going to be thunderstorms and the whole thing's going to be rained out. Guys, you may want to actually rekindle your relationship with God because if you're praying for those things, your prayers didn't work out so well because none of that happened.
Yeah, it's funny because they were talking about how they were going to push it back an hour because of the thunderstorms coming in. But then last minute they decided not to, and I don't think it rained at all.
Actually, what's funny is if you look at the weather map, somebody posted this online, it actually split around Washington. Like the storms went to the sides. And I'm subscribed to the White House press pool now, so I get their daily press updates because we're going to be going to D.C., please God, for the July 4th thing, and I'm even more excited about that. But what's funny is I was getting updates on all this, and I didn't know what any of it meant because I don't do the UFC stuff. But they comment on everything in the press pool. Whoever it is, whoever's turn it is that day to update the press pool, they comment on everything. And one of them goes, they're playing Thunderstruck. Probably not the best omen when you're expecting thunder showers. They comment on everything. It's kind of funny. But overall, visually spectacular. I posted a few of the really great clips over on social media, over on X, at the Hoffather over on X. You can go check it out over there. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, the Democrats remove the words mom and dad, mother and father for being offensive. I kid you not. This is the world we live in now. Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. If you think DEI and critical race theory are gone, my friends, no, they're not. The second a Democrat takes back the White House or they take back Congress or anything else, it's going to come roaring back with a vengeance. How do I know this? A new piece of legislation by New York Democrats replaces the word mother with gestating parent in a number of state laws. The law erases the word mother as well as father. The latter term has been changed to non-gestating parent. The bill will now go to New York Governor Kathy Hochul's desk for signature. Guys, no matter how many words you change, men cannot get pregnant. What is the worst Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ever made? Okay, you may have your own thoughts, but my opinion is Junior. That is a terrible movie. It was a bad idea then. It's a bad idea now. And I don't think there's any miracle drug that can make actual men get pregnant. So please tell me whenever you see this, man delivers a baby. No, it's a woman who thinks she's a man. Can we be real about this? The supposed gender-neutral rewrite of the laws was passed by Democrats last week in the state legislature. Paternity cases will now be known as parentage cases under the bill. What's Maury Povich supposed to do? Maury Povich tapes in New York. You are not the gestating parent. You are the gestating parent. You are the non-gestating parent. Is that what we're going to do now?
I don't think his show's on anymore.
Is it not? Shows what I know.
He finally retired.
He did? Did he? I don't know. It seems like it was always on. That dude was on when I was a kid. That dude was on when I was an adult. But, I mean, somebody's got to be doing that, right?
Yeah, point taken.
Yeah.
That doesn't quite ring off the tip of the tongue like the other.
No, it doesn't.
You are not the father.
Well, hang on a second.
Yeah,
you are not the gestating parent. Well, I know that. I'm the dad. Yeah. Well, what about that chick over there? How are you supposed to do this? This makes no sense at all. This is craziness. Yeah, it doesn't have the same impact as before, does it now? No, this is just no fun at all. The bill, S9316, was sponsored by State Senator Luis Sepulveda and Assemblywoman Amy Paulin, both Democrats. Oh, you think? This is a waste of time and stupid. In fact, you've got massive problems in New York. You don't have enough police. You got utility issues. You got Knicks fans lighting school buses on fire. See, this is what I said, right? I said I'm a reluctant, lapsed Knicks fan. I like the basketball. I don't like being in the same fandom as Yankee fans. That is what you saw on full display in New York City the other night. So I didn't know the score of the game. It's the Sabbath for me. So I'm completely offline, completely detached, and some little kid comes into the synagogue, and some little kid comes up to me and goes, Mr. Hoffman. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, kid? And he goes, the Knicks just won the finals. And I'm in the middle of a speech, so I can't go, woohoo. But at the same time, I said, oh, wait a second. That means the riot is going to start any minute. And you know what's after that? The Puerto Rican Day Parade, which is notoriously one of the most crime-ridden days in New York City. So you've got this riot on Saturday night. Did you see the video footage of the one bus driver who's standing in front of the school bus going, they're going to take it out of my salary. They're going to take it out of my salary. And they're destroying the school bus anyway? What does burning out a school bus have to do with the Knicks winning the finals? It almost makes me mad that they did, because that kind of stuff just ruins it for everybody. That's Mom Donnie's New York City. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. License to thrill, but not in a good way. That's Mom Donnie's New York City. What's the parade going to be like? What day is the parade? Tuesday? Wednesday? Something like that? So you're going to have the parade, and you're going to have another round of this psychosis? You don't have enough police officers, and people know. Odds are they're not going to do anything to them anyway. Look, 60 people were arrested. How many of them are going to be released? How many of them are not going to be charged in Zoran Mamdani's New York City? Speaking of people not getting charged, up next, my friends, I took a tour through Seattle's most notorious drug encampments last night, and I've got the horror stories for you. And anybody who says this is a housing crisis has no idea what the hell they're talking about. I'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a local radio personality had one of the dumbest takes of all time and didn't like it when I called him out on it. But before we get to any of that, my friends, lots of feedback on our last segment about New York now saying they're not using the words mother and father anymore, and now they're using gestating parent and non-gestating parent. So when I said men can't deliver babies, Matt, you smart, you know what you. Text of the day, Matt says, men can deliver babies. They're called doctors. Very good, Matt. Very good. Very good. This is a good point from Dan Smith, by the way. He says, if the sponsors of that legislation are parents, what do their children call them? That's a good thing. So instead of mom and dad, do you just call them just to A or just to B, or what do you call them? Hey, you're my non-gesta. Is that what you call them? What kind of stupid names do you have? If you don't believe in the term mom and dad and mother and father, what do your kids? Oh, wait, I forgot. They're lefty psychos. Probably don't have kids. But seriously, what do your kids call you then? Great point, Dan Smith. Oh, before I forget, by the way, today we have a new contest for everybody. Today we are giving away tickets to Chris Tucker at the Snoqualmie Casino on Friday, June 26th. That's right, the man from Rush Hour and The Fifth Element and the 90s. Chris Tucker, you can see him live and in person. We are giving away two tickets today. All you have to do in order to win these two tickets is enter the word, or be entered for your chance to win these two tickets, is enter the word, text the word rush, as in rush hour, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Text the word rush, R-U-S-H, for your chance to win. Good luck. We'll have more updates on more contests for you throughout the show and throughout the week. So, just about a week ago, I was hanging out with Jonathan Cho, Andrea Suarez, and a few of our other friends in the industry. And I said to them, hey, guys, what do you think about the night before the World Cup? We go out and do a Doom Loop tour. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson says that Seattle is ready for the World Cup. Is that actually true? And both of them love the idea. So last night, we went out. I wasn't prepared for what I saw. I've been covering this stuff since 2017, 2018. I've been looking at the homeless stuff. I think I really started reporting on it around 2020. That's when I was really reporting on it for the media, when I started reporting on it. And I used to go out in the field all the time. Now I'm in the studio, and I send other people out because I'm just here all the time. I don't get to see it for myself. I forgot how bad it was, and I wasn't prepared for how worse it has gotten. Anybody who says this is a housing crisis has no idea what the hell they're talking about. Anybody who says this is a housing crisis has never been out in the field before. They have never seen those encampments. They have never been inside of them. They have never been in these hordes of drug addicts. It's literally like The Walking Dead. You know in The Walking Dead when they cover themselves in the zombie guts and go through the horde? That's how I felt last night at certain points. It was that bad. Also, going anywhere with Jonathan Cho is always an adventure because, well, Jonathan's Jonathan, and he's pretty recognizable to a lot of people in that community right now, and they don't like that he calls out this stuff. But we'll come back to that in a second. I saw a video from Andrea Suarez. Andrea Suarez was covering the new tiny home encampment, which the mayor has been talking about. What did I say when they opened this thing? I said this on air last week. I said, just because you opened it doesn't mean anybody's actually living in it. I've seen lots of video clips from the mainstream media of, look, there's a bed, and there's a toilet, and there's a closet, and there's an air conditioning unit. Aren't these nice? But I don't actually see anybody living in these things. So you could say you opened housing for 75 people, but that doesn't mean 75 people are actually in the new tiny homes. So what have you actually accomplished? Well, you've wasted a lot of taxpayer money and accomplished nothing. Because the majority of people, when they are offered services, reject them. I saw this firsthand with Andrea last night. She was offering services to everybody she possibly could on the streets. Andrea, over the weekend, went to check out this new tiny home village, and guess what she found?
Thought I'd do a little drive-by the Bayview Pallet Shelter Village to see if anybody's moved in, and I do not see evidence of anybody moved in yet. However, I see a couple staffers in the office and still some people setting up tables, among other things, and a lot of people curious, a lot of drive-bys, and a lot of empty pallet shelter units cooking in the heat. So we are keeping a lot of curious community members apprised of what's going on. We are being asked to give updates, and as it sits right now, there does not look to be any residents moved in yet.
So they built this thing for 75 people, and nobody's there. They basically have them living in outhouses. This has made national news because of how stupid it is. And I ask any Seattle official, if it was your kid who was out on the streets, would you want them living in one of these tiny homes? No, of course not. But you can't get them to go into the tiny homes because this isn't a homeless problem. This is a drug problem. So last night, I said to Cho, where should I meet you? And Cho says, meet me in the belly of the beast. We're going right to 12th and Jackson. That's where we're going to meet. Now, Cho had to drive around and looking for parking for a little bit because there's only so many safe places to leave your car. And 12th and Jackson, right there in the Chinatown International District, is one of the worst spots in town. You've probably driven past it. Hordes of zombie people. That's what it is. And they're on the corner. So I went to the corner where there were no hordes of zombie people just to watch. And while in the 10, 15 minutes I was waiting for Cho to find a parking spot, I saw dozens of people lighting up fentanyl. I saw dozens of drug deals go down. I saw one addict go over to some transit cops. And it looks like they went to their car to get him something and then give it to him, and then he left. And then the transit cops left. I was kind of curious what they were giving out. I asked Cho and Andrea, and they said, oh, probably Narcan or some other clean drug use thing. That's what the transit cops do. They're just giving that stuff out, enabling this behavior. I saw multiple drug deals go down. It's a cesspool. It's an absolute cesspool. But in looking at the people, most of them aren't homeless. Most of them are products of the environment here in Seattle, of the housing first model. Sure, these places have these guys have a place to go, but there's no requirements for them. So they don't get drug treatment. So they don't get mental health services. So nobody checks if they have a felony warrant. And as a result, they're just living on our taxpayer dollars. And then I saw something even crazier. I see at one point somebody show up, unload a bunch of water and other supplies, and the horde descends. The horde just descends on it, and they all take their stuff, and then they all go back to their corners. This is what goes on there all day, every single day. And if you look at 12th and Jackson, there's all these businesses that are shuttered, all these businesses that are closed up, boarded up. This should be a place where if you go to a city and you're there to be a tourist, you want to go check out the International District because that's where you're going to find the fun food. That's where you're going to find the fun culture. I saw an article in Como News talking about all the festivities that the Chinatown International District is having for the World Cup. And what Chinatown? What International District? But don't worry, they have painted crosswalks. Don't worry, they've got very colorful crosswalks in the Chinatown International District, in Little Saigon. Very nice crosswalks. They're lovely. You have a drug horde of hundreds of people on the corner, but you know what? They got the crosswalks. The last time I saw anything like this is when I went up to Vancouver in 2019 and filmed that undercover video, Injected, which was to show how these injection sites are not actually helping anybody, how they're actually killing people. And there were the same kind of hordes. When I went up to Vancouver and I filmed this video, we walked through the horde within seconds. Within seconds, they knew we didn't belong there and they were hassling us and trying to get rid of us. And we weren't even filming back then. This time, same thing happens. Within seconds, they see it's Cho. Now, something you need to know about Jonathan Cho. He offers help to anybody who looks like they'll actually benefit from it. He tries to offer help to anybody. He really, really does. You okay, man? You okay, bro? Can I help you out? He knows a lot of these people by name. He said to one guy, oh my God, I'm so glad you're still alive. Can I help you? Andrea was drinking from a water bottle, literally handed it over to people. Got more to hand out to people. Handed out cards for service as we're walking. But the fact that they know so many of these people can't get off the drugs. Some of these people can't escape the life because the city is enabling them to stay inside these apartments. As we're walking through Chinatown, Cho likes to take off from time to time. He'll just, in his flip-flops, he'll just zip off. And I didn't know what he was running towards. It turns out he was running towards, he saw a business owner he knew, and his car was in the process of getting stolen. Give a listen.
Let's go. That's Henry's from Henry's Taiwan. What's going on?
Stealing my car.
Henry, what was he doing? I'm a reporter. Henry,
He was opening the car.
He's stealing the No, I'm trying to help. Stealing.
Come on, man. Henry,
He pushed me. He opened my car door, then go inside to try to steal it.
Henry, how are you staying in business right now, man?
I can. You know how much I lose every month? Over $2,000 a month. I lost.
Every other city around Seattle, it's clean, it's fresh, everybody living their life. But once you get to Seattle downtown, Chinatown especially,
why are you staying here?
Because I protect the buildings. They're all homeless people in here. If I'm not here, they're all homeless.
This is crazy.
They tried to kill me. I gave him my wallet. I said, I give you the money. Go away.
whatever the city hall is doing is up. It's so up. Like, if you want the Seattle to be better, this is not going to work.
These are minority business owners. These are Asian business owners. And Seattle's policies have completely destroyed the area. Don't forget, over a decade ago, they put in the Navigation Center, which they claim was going to help deal with the drug problem. Instead, it attracted druggies to the area, and the area has never recovered even after the Navigation Center closed. Because what was going on in there? Enablement. Enabling the addicts, enabling the vagrants, giving whatever they needed to continue being addicts, to continue being vagrants. The most terrifying part of last night was when we went through Lewis Park. Lewis Park, for those of you who know the area, you may not even know Lewis Park is there. You know when you're coming down from Beacon Hill and you're coming into Chinatown, you come across the Dr. Jose Rizal Bridge, that overpass there, and you're coming down into Chinatown, there's a park on your right there. It's basically a trail through forests. That's what it is. It probably used to be a really nice hiking trail. Probably used to be. Cho said to me before we went in there, if I run, you run. That's really words of encouragement right there. If I run, you run. And we go into this place, and it was getting dark already, so it's this place at night. And you go in, and you just see the length of the thing. People are lighting up fentanyl. The length of the thing. And Cho told me that this is where the Honduran drug dealers are dealing to their customers. And when we first get in, Andrea goes, does anybody need services? Anybody need services? And immediately they start yelling at Cho. They start yelling at Andrea. They started throwing Ben & Jerry's ice cream at Andrea and Cho is what happens here. And these addicts keep coming up to us. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. It's not safe for you. Don't go in there. It's not safe for you. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. It's not safe for you. You don't belong. Don't go in there. It's not safe for you. It was so dangerous, we couldn't walk more than a few steps before they started getting attacked. And we had to leave, walk around the outside, come in from the other side. We came in from the other side of this park. And what happens is, over there's another druggie. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. Don't go in there. It's dangerous. Don't go in there. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I have never seen such squalor. I have never seen such rampant drug use. And they have fully occupied this park. Nobody who's normal has been in that park in years. You could clean up the drug scene tomorrow if you sent the police there. Unfortunately, we barely saw any cops last night. You know the only ones we saw? There was a stabbing in one of the encampments, so we saw the police dealing with that. We saw them nearby. Aside from that, aside from transit cops who are probably enabling this behavior, nothing like that. So Andrea Suarez actually followed up with Councilmember Lynn. And she wrote, last night right after sundown, a stabbing with a perp still at large, and Henry's Taiwan fending off a car prowler and assault witnessed hundreds, if not thousands of people loitering, dealing, using, and trading sex, likely forced on King Street. At least 200 people alone were at Lewis Park, where I was assaulted with a pint of ice cream in my face. People are hot, dehydrated, high, malnourished, and preyed upon. Oh, I forgot. There was a guy totally naked on the ground who looked like he was just wasting away and dying. The amount of times Andrea had to call 911 while we were doing this was insane. She says it was pitch black in the parks. Lighting would be an immediate help. Law enforcement and prosecution. Prosecution, longer jail times or treatment. This is how this can be drastically improved. Narcotic use in the parks should move to felony level charges. Forced treatment does work. Ricky's Law will save lives. Lowering the threshold to fentanyl is immediate danger to self and others. 20 people have died of overdose in King County since May. It's safe to say the population of the park addicted to those lethal drugs need a level of intervention beyond accelerated shelter. The emergency is not housing shortages or costs. It is the drugs. How do we know that? There is a tiny home encampment with 75 homes available today. Today, that is completely empty. And the saddest thing I saw yesterday, there are these illegal aliens who are giving out food to the addicts. And I thought to myself, isn't that nice? And then I realized, oh no, that's not what's happening. They're giving out food to the addicts, so the addicts come to them to buy their drugs. And there was a girl there, black girl, couldn't have been more than 15, 16 years old, who was clearly being trafficked. Andrea offered her help. Andrea tried to get her out of there. She lied to us. She told us she was 27. Clearly being trafficked. She wasn't the only person we saw being trafficked. She was holding in her hands fentanyl and the foil and the pie, everything that goes with it. 15, 16-year-old girl lying about her age. Made me cry. I thought about my daughter. I thought if, God forbid, that was my daughter, how we'd want to help her, how somebody would want to help her. But this girl is trapped in the life. This is what is being paid for with your taxpayer dollars. This is what is being enabled on the streets of Seattle. And through all of it, you could see the stadiums because they're only blocks away. You could see the stadiums through all of it. All of it. And nobody was doing anything. So when people knock on Jonathan Cho or Andrea Suarez, they were trying to help people. Jonathan Cho doesn't just document this. He tries to help people. Andrea Suarez, this is now her full-time gig, trying to help people. But blocks away from where the World Cup is happening, you have the third world, in fact, worse than some of the countries that people came from to watch the World Cup happening on our streets. It is not a housing problem. It is a massive drug problem. Didn't see any tents while I was out there. Saw tons of drugs, smelled tons of drugs, saw the smoke from tons of drugs, saw the dealing, saw everything that's part of it. Anybody who is dumb enough to say this is a housing problem has never walked in Jonathan Cho's flip-flops, has never walked in Andrea Suarez's shoes, has never actually gone out there themselves and seen it with their own two eyes. Or you know right away, this is not a housing problem. This is a drug problem. That's how bad this actually is, rather than anything else they tell you. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, a local radio personality had one of the dumbest takes of all time on social media and really didn't like it when I called him out. I'll tell you what happened when we come back, plus a whole lot more and more chances to win. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. There have been some really dumb takes since Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire. The dumbest take of all is if Elon Musk wasn't a trillionaire, all that money could be better spent on insert the cause here. Let's be clear about this. Elon Musk didn't steal that money from anybody. He made a product that people want to invest in. And also, over 4,000 people became millionaires because they work for said company, because they're original investors in that company, and because of the initial stock offering, the initial public offering on Friday, they became very, very wealthy because Elon Musk wants to build rocket ships. This idea of, well, $1 trillion would be better spent anywhere else is stupid. And anybody who says so has no idea how economics work, doesn't understand how economics work. If Elon Musk had not invented a rocket company, that $1 trillion would not exist. Here's something else. All those people, including Elon Musk, who profited off this, you get their tax dollars to pay for things like education or whatever other cause you have. And a lot of them donate money to nonprofits and wouldn't be able to do that if Elon Musk wasn't giving them jobs. I am not the biggest Elon Musk fan. I have said I have serious issues with where those batteries come from in China. Are the Uyghur Muslims who are in concentration camps making them? We don't know. I have very serious issues about his relationships with China. I do. Do I like that he bought Twitter? Absolutely. Do I like Doge? Absolutely. Kind of didn't finish the job on that one. But, yeah, I got some issues with the guy. But this claim that if he wasn't a trillionaire or we should just confiscate all his wealth and spend it somewhere else, stupid. Absolutely stupid. So a local radio host who is not conservative posted on social media and got ratioed horribly for this. Someone will likely become a trillionaire, but come August, there will be teachers all over the U.S. that don't have enough school supplies. First of all, Elon Musk has donated over $370 million to a nonprofit organization called the Foundation, which focuses on STEM-focused education. Number two, in my day, the kids bought the school supplies themselves. And there was a fund, if you didn't have the money for school supplies, that you could go get the school supplies. Number three, why don't they have enough school supplies? Could it be because the superintendents, as we've discussed at length here, and other administrators make $300,000 a year, $400,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $600,000 a year? What happens to all the money we spend on education around here? We have literally spent over $1 trillion, $1 trillion on education here in Washington since we became a state. And what have we gotten for it? Declining test scores, failing grades, school to prison pipeline. So you've had your $1 trillion, and that's just one state. How many trillions of dollars have been shelled into public education to have it continue to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail? But this one radio host didn't like me calling him dumb, and this one radio host didn't like me pointing out the obvious. You've had your chance, and it has failed. Also, Mr. Radio Host, where do your kids go to school? Do they go to public school? I'm the one who's advocating for the public schools to be better. You're the one posting stupid platitudes online just because you think it'll get you clicks. Well, it got you clicks, but it also proved to your audience you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm not going to name said radio host, but if you follow me on X, you probably know exactly who I am talking about. Lots of feedback to my latest report about going into the homeless encampments, which is this one here from Elaine. Follow the money. The homeless industrial complex does not want to solve the drug issue, and they are paid too much money. The politicians are responsible for the sadness on the streets. I completely agree. I completely agree. From the 425, I love when they won't acknowledge it's a homeless crisis. They say it's a drug crisis, and homelessness is the result. It is proven when sobriety is required to live in a shelter or tiny home. If it was a homeless problem, then the sober houses would be full. Here's something else. If it was a housing problem, then all these places would be full that they have opened, and there is nobody in them. Nobody in them right now. Andrea Suarez reporting on it. There is nobody in them. It is part of the spending crisis here in Seattle. I think I've told the story before. I had some friends in Chinatown when I was running for office, and I went down to Chinatown to visit them after the campaign, and I go down there, and I went to their storefront, and I noticed everything in the windows was gone, and I said, did they move? Did they pack up? Did they go somewhere else? And I opened the door, and I walked into an illegal gaming establishment. It was an illegal casino in Chinatown. And the people looked at me like, who are you, and what are you doing here? And I'm like, wrong place. Really, really wrong place. When you go to any city, you know that going to Chinatown, going to the International District is where you want to go for the best cuisine and stuff. That's where you want to go. And yet, here, you can't go there. It's not safe because the city destroyed it. The city policies have completely destroyed it. Up next, my friends, Gavin Newsom claims that Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice to go after him. There's just a few little problems, including the fact that the investigation was started under a different president. That's how long he's been allegedly corrupt for. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Gavin Newsom's running for president. We all know that the governor of California is termed out and is going to be running for president. We all know this, right? So he is doing anything he can to get media attention. So today he comes out with this big announcement because this is a guy who loves to take on Trump. In fact, he tried doing the Trump style of tweeting, but didn't really work that well for him. He's trying to just dunk on everybody. It doesn't really come off so well when there are poop maps of cities in your state. That doesn't work so well. So Gavin Newsom comes out with this big press announcement. Big, huge press announcement. The biggest press announcement ever, that Donald Trump is using the DOJ, weaponizing the DOJ to come after him. I'm going to play a little bit of this audio here, and then I'm going to tell you what's wrong with it.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after James Comey, Trish James, Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. After calling for my arrest last year, Donald Trump directed...
Enough. I can't take it anymore. I can't. Do you know when this investigation began? Gavin Newsom does. Gavin Newsom's been under investigation for a while. This investigation began in 2025. Can somebody please refresh my memory who was president of the United States in 2025? Anybody? Hang on, let's back up a second here. Yeah, it began before President Trump took office. Hang on a second here. So wait, it begins before President Trump takes office. It dates back to 2024. It dates back to 2023 when there were these allegations. But President Trump is the one weaponizing it? There are questions about his finances, and there have been questions about his finances for a long time. Most obviously during COVID, when a lot of businesses in his state were shut down and his were allowed to stay open. When a lot of businesses in his state were begging for help because he was forcing them to be shut down, and magically his businesses, his wineries and such, had no problem getting funding whatsoever. So, okay, what are we talking about here? There's been a lot of questions for a long time. There's one probe regarding his former chief of staff, Dana Williamson, who was indicted on federal charges that she was involved in a scheme to steal campaign money from former federal health secretary Javier Becerra. Williamson in May pleaded guilty to charges including conspiracy to commit bank fraud. That investigation was launched by President Joe Biden's Justice Department and has expanded to include other staff. Interesting. And apparently, even according to the Associated Press, they are definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. A person familiar with the matter denied the existence of an investigation specifically targeting the governor. But there are multiple federal probes into people around him, including one related to his wife's taxes. The probe began last year, and political leadership in Washington was not involved in the decision to open it. Hang on a second here. Hang on. AP, have they gone right-wing all of a sudden? Has the Associated Press become a right-wing outlet? No, I don't think so. So he wants to pick this fight either to distract what's going on or never let a crisis go to waste. And he's deciding to pick this fight with President Trump because he thinks if he can get Trump to respond, now he's got the biggest megaphone on the planet targeting him, and that's what he wants. Because something else fun about this, Gavin Newsom right now, and we got a long way until 2028. We got a long, long way. Gavin Newsom ain't looking too hot in the polls. AOC, far ahead of him. He's worried about that. He's not looking that good in the polls. And As a result of that, he's trying to get any free media he can. So by saying, oh, well, Trump's coming after me, even though the investigation was launched in early 2025 before President Trump became president, even though it was investigated in 2024, even though it was investigated in 2023, even though some of his staff already pled guilty to the charges, and that investigation branched out after originating during the Biden administration, you're now telling me this is Trump's fault? I mean, it's kind of like Thanos in the Avengers. I don't even know who you are. Granted, we know that President Trump knows who Gavin Newsom is. But this is clearly grabbing attention. This is clearly to grab headlines. How do I know that? Because every single media outlet is covering it. And then if you scroll down 10 or 12 paragraphs past Gavin Newsom's 10-minute speech on this, then you get to all the details about where this investigation actually originated. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, some early good news for you. Some local kids were featured at the White House as part of an amazing project they did regarding AI. No, it's not going to kill us all like in Terminator. It's actually going to help you with something you do around the house. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, we spend too much time complaining about things on this show, so I really thought it'd be important to give you a little fun perspective about good things that are happening. Now, our First Lady, Melania Trump, was very, very proud to introduce a few students about this AI challenge they are having. They did this project called Skill Up. They're out of North Star Middle School right here in Sammamish, Washington, talking about how they can make these programs to make everybody's lives better. Joining me now on the KVI studio line is Viha Iyer, Arya Prutap, and Shri Mai Shetty. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Such a pleasure. So, Viha, I'm going to start with you. Tell us about the project that you guys are doing.
So, SkillUp is an app that makes complicated handiwork like crocheting or embroidery or knitting easier to understand and follow using AI-generated tutorials and real-time feedback.
Okay, so this isn't the kind of AI that's going to kill us all like in the movies, right? This is to help you out, be like a personal assistant, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just making sure, because some people get scared about that kind of stuff. Okay, Arya, I'll pivot over to you. How'd you guys come up with this idea?
So we all were like really trying to learn new crafts because it was our school project and we were all stuck on crochet. And we realized that it would be really easy if we could find real tutorials that could actually help us instead of just droning on and on about their life story. And so we came up with this solution.
So, Shrimai, I assume you guys are tired of influencers who just talk about restaurant openings and fashion and such. And you said, who's actually going to give me practical advice? Is that kind of where this came from?
Yeah, so we realized that sometimes a problem with tutorials is that you don't get enough live feedback. The thing is that if you don't understand where you went wrong in a tutorial, like, oh, I accidentally made 3 knots instead of 2, then you'll be asking and you won't have the right answer because the content providers, like the people who make the tutorials, they probably won't get back to you until like a very long time. So we came up with this idea where we'll have live feedback where you can get feedback right away, real time.
Gotcha. Now, this is very important to me, and I'm going to show you why. That is a crocheted yarmulke for us Jewish people. My mom made these for years, but lots of us Jewish people wear these. So when I saw that was involved in the project, I was very, very excited. So we're talking with the girls from North Star Middle School for their project Skill Up, which was just highlighted nationally by the White House, which is just an incredible thing. So Viha, why don't you tell me about the experience of being on a national competition stage?
It was very exciting, but at the same time, it was also I was really nervous. But overall, I think it was a really cool experience just to get up there, meet the First Lady. It was just really cool just seeing the White House, especially in person.
Gotcha. Arya, were there anybody in your class or your school or anything who said, oh, it's political, you shouldn't go to something like this? Or was it just everybody so excited you're winning a national competition?
So almost like all of the 8th graders in our middle school, they were like, oh, this is like politics. They were like giving us all of their personal opinions, but we were just really glad and grateful to be here.
That's what I say all the time. I always say, I don't care who's in the White House. I get to go to the White House? Okay. Shrimai, tell me this. Was the food good? Did they give you food?
Yes, they gave us really good food. We honestly really enjoyed it. It's definitely a step up from what we have at home, but it was really grand.
Awesome. So now what's the next step for you guys? And Viha, I'll pivot over to you. What's the next step for you guys? Is it now you guys sell your idea? Now you guys grow a company? Are you going on Shark Tank? How does this work?
So we actually we made a 3-phase plan. So we have a list of features we want to implement into our app. And we have 3 phases where we go like easiest to implement and then hardest to implement. And we've started to work on one of those features in our app. And we can't just jump straight to commercializing or like advertising our app. First, we need to focus on the technical part. And we've already started developing some of our features. And we want to focus on that. You know, this is a process of trial and error, and we want our real users to actually test our app and see if this is what is necessary for them, and what feedback they give us will improve our app based on that.
Now, Arya, this isn't necessarily something that a lot of young people are doing, but this is something that a lot of people who are older than me are doing. I know a lot of people who crochet at that age. Maybe in your school it's a little different. Maybe kids like to use their hands more rather than for cell phones, but for actual practical skills. So is this something that somebody who may not be the most technological savvy will be able to interact with easily?
Of course. So that's why we have all these different features that can help all ages. And especially in our community, we do have a lot of young crocheters and really professionals at our young ages. And so our app can really help with any age. And if you don't have much experience with technology, it'll just really help you because all these features are meant to be easily navigated.
Gotcha. Now, Srimai, before we let you guys go, why don't you tell me what's your timeline? When do you think this thing will be available for the public, or can people sign up now to be testers or, users on this thing so they can help you guys refine it?
So basically, what's going to happen is that we might not launch it like this year, or maybe not even next year, or the year before that, or after that as well. But the thing is, what we'll have to do is we have to experiment with each feature, refine it, make sure that it's good enough, and then we'll research a little bit more. And then what we'll do is that we'll probably start creating the app. We haven't really thought about signing up and that kind of stuff, but what we do know is that it we might want to launch it into the real world soon.
Now, yeah, go ahead. What's up?
Adding on to Srimai, like we definitely do want user feedback. So there probably will be a lot of people who can like ask to test our app, especially since if you're really into crocheting or knitting, like we want overall our goal is just to help the users while you also using AI to make it easier. So like we probably will have people test our features before we launch maybe like parts of our app, or but we just like we can't just launch everything at once, or it'll be like too much and too much to swallow.
And the system will crash, and that's not good. That's not what you want. You want to be the reliable app that people actually use. Well, girls, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm looking at you guys over Zoom, but my audience isn't necessarily looking at you over Zoom. These girls are 11 years old, and they were able to do this. They were able to create this app. And I know it's refreshing to my audience where they hear that kids are just on their cell phones all the time or not doing anything productive with their time, that you girls not only are doing skills-based work, but you're creating an app for the skills-based work to make it better for some people. I got to tell you, we are all so proud of you, regardless of what our political positions are, that you were able to go to the White House, that they were able to highlight this. And I hope everybody over at North Star Middle School is proud of you as well. All right, girls. Well, you did such a great job today. Thank you so much for joining us. And get back to class. You shouldn't be ditching class to be on my show right now, okay? Get back to class. Go learn something, all right?
Okay.
That was, those girls were great. They were really, really great. And I emphasize this. Why did I pick this? This isn't our usual thing that we have, right? They got to go to the White House because of an app that they worked on to highlight all the stuff that they're doing with AI. They got to go to the White House. They got to meet the First Lady. They got to meet Melania Trump. And as I say all the time, look, if I had been invited during the Biden White House, I would have gone. It doesn't matter who the president is. You get invited to the White House, you go. So kudos to those girls. And the school should be very, very proud of them. And I'm sure their parents are very, very proud of them. I'm sure their teachers are very, very proud of them. Really just incredible stuff. Just want to remind everybody, by the way, we have two contests going on right now. The first contest, as I mentioned earlier, is we are giving away two tickets to see Chris Tucker at the Snoqualmie Casino on Friday, June 26th. Now, the way to enter this contest is you text the keyword that I give you to the number I give you. So you text the keyword RUSH, as in Chris Tucker was in Rush Hour, as in there's an awesome band called Rush. Text the word RUSH, R-U-S-H, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also giving away tickets to the Bremerton Air Show. But you're going to have to keep listening to the show so we can tell you exactly how to win those. Final hour free-for-all coming up next, and a report from the World Cup with young Zach. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, one local business owner is taking the fight against human traffickers straight to the traffickers themselves to get some attention during the World Cup and show everybody that Seattle isn't standing up with this nonsense anymore and standing against this craziness. But before we get to any of that, speaking of craziness, looks like a lot of fun going on in our first World Cup match. We now have young Zach reporting live from somewhere near Seattle Stadium today. Is that where you are, young Zach?
Well, Ari, I am nothing but authentic and committed to the bit, so I stayed down here a little extra long just so I could join you live from one of the designated protest zones.
So for those of you,
the cops just started tearing down the one I was standing in, so now I moved over to the next one because there's tons. There's so many protest zones. They're about, let's see, 1, 2, 3 paces wide. So we're about 10 feet by 6 feet. These little semicircles, and being that they put them here before they take it down, I might as well use it. I've got some things I'd like to say, some things I'd like to get off my chest. Men's crop tops, why are those coming back? Let's get rid of that. Okay. Non-alcoholic versions of adult beverages that used to be non-alcoholic anyway, you know, like an NA hard seltzer. It's just seltzer. Just call it what it is. We don't need that. All right, people who can't zipper on the freeway, zipper. What is wrong with them?
Zipper,
and
hardly
of course,
yeah.
Oh man, and of course, you know, unpermitted hot dog carts. How could I leave them out? Which not as many as I would have expected today. But well, I'm glad my taxpayer dollars are now put to good use. That I got to get. Oh, hold on. All right, now I'm out of the protest zone, which you guessed it is an imaginary line made up only by some plastic fence.
Well, I actually reached out to the Seattle Police Department today, so just a little peek behind the curtain. Young Zach messages me this morning. I was working really, really late last night. I wake up this morning, and I get these messages from young Zach with these pictures of these, like, little white, cruddy, not even fencing, more like netting around these cones as protest zones. Now, those weren't there last night when I was down there, but they're right near the location where you actually have activists staging to protest against Embassy Suites to demand higher wages. Zach, I saw Bennett the protester out there with a giant sign, and I saw some street preachers. Any other protesters around today?
Nope, that was it. You
That's
saw
it.
them all.
Okay.
And the thing is, people treat them like crosswalks. You know, Bennett was like 10 yards from it. I was like, you almost made it, buddy. You were so close. And I was like, they put it there for you. You know, you're the only guy with a reserved spot here. You know how hard it is to get a designated spot here at the World Cup? That's high, pricey real estate.
So
I just got chased out of the other one.
Yeah, they're chasing you out, even though you're doing the radio broadcast and have press ID. Okay, so you're down there, no other protesters. Protesters aren't respecting the protest zones anyway. What else is going on down for the World Cup today?
I got 2 observations. One good, one, I don't know. I tell you what a peaceful and unifying day. I was shocked. We had expectations of potentially all these protests and chaos that may ensue. None of that. Absolutely none of that. Everyone's had a great time. It's been very friendly. The match even ended in a draw, so both teams basically won. I mean, you could not ask for a more, just easygoing day. There are more protests at a General Mariners game than I saw here at the World Cup. So that was obviously good to see, reassuring. It's kind of like what we talked about on Friday. Enjoy the city while you can, because I don't really have any complaints as of yet.
That's great. That's great. So tell me what it's like down there, because the videos you've sent me, I can't get a sense of crowd. Was the game today packed? Were there tons of people, or are they still light on ticket sales? So
that's kind of the flip side of this. Ticket sales, I think, or the attendance today was about 66,000. That's pretty close to what their normal capacity is here at Lumen Field, or as I look up at it and they have Lumen blacked out, it just says, and I quote, field. And I don't know why we didn't block it all. I just, in case you're, where am I going? Oh, is this the field? Oh, it must be.
Yes.
attendance seemed very full. It was certainly a packed game. I had the opportunity just before hopping on with you to talk to one of the licensed, permitted hot dog vendors, and I said, how was the day? Was it busier than a regular Seahawks game? And he said it was not. It was lighter. He said it was so-so. Not thrilled with his movement of dogs. And I think one thing that a lot of us failed to, myself included, didn't really realize when we've been talking about the economic impact of the World Cup here in Seattle, it's that most of these games, all but two, are at noon. Well, one's at 1 o'clock, but they're middle of the day games. So all the pre-gaming, now the bars all opened up and the restaurants were all open up. I got here down at 7 and they had some business, but I wouldn't say they were packed at 7, 8 in the morning. And so then the game wraps up and there was, pretty big crowd. People lingered for a while, but here we are 5 o'clock and it's pretty dead, to be honest with you. Most people have left and gone elsewhere. Now, hopefully they're spending their money elsewhere in the city and maybe we'll still see the economic boom that many had said we would. But down here at the stadium, it's 5 o'clock and it's almost too quiet.
So that was a question I had last night. Last night when I was down exactly where you are right now, when I was down there, everything was closed. And I thought to myself, shouldn't people be partying? But if they had to wake up early to do the pre-gaming and then go to the game, that explains why everything was closed and nobody was out.
And keeping in mind, of the two games that we get to host in the evening, one of them is the Egypt-Iran game, which is the one with the lowest ticket sales because so many of the Iranian fans are unable, obviously, to make it over here and attend the game. So the one chance we really have, we'll see, but the signs aren't great that that's going to be some sort of, massive packed out party. The biggest game, the most well-attended and the most popular game that we're hosting is going to be this week, U.S. and Australia, and that's another noon game.
Yeah, we met some Aussies while we were out last night, and it was kind of funny talking to them about the situation because even they were like, well, we saw a couple homeless people. So, Zach, did you have a chance to peruse by that place where the activists have a storefront? Did you have a chance to go over there?
Yeah, I'm kind of headquartered right over that way. It was also remarkably uneventful. I saw their signs up in the window, but it looked like every other vacant building in Seattle. You just had these posters up in the windows and nothing really more to show for it.
So I wonder what day they're actually going to show up for. Zach, I appreciate it. Where are you going to be broadcasting tomorrow? Are you going to be back in studio or are you going to be out all week?
We'll see how much you annoy me. I might run myself back. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be back with you in the studio. Looking forward to it.
Okay, awesome. Zach, thank you so much for indulging how we like to cover the World Cup, but also you're doing a great job for our sister station over at Northwest News Radio. Really do appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ari.
All right, now go get a drink because you don't have to be on air anymore. Young Zach, thank you so much. Appreciate that. What are we talking about for those of you who missed the beginning of the show? We found out last night, Jonathan Cho, Andrea Suarez, and I went down to check out the stadiums and see if they had cleared out all the homeless people. We also explored some homeless encampments out in Chinatown International District, and we also checked them out over on Beacon Hill. And when we went down to the stadiums themselves, the area was spotless. So, as we've been saying since Friday, guys, enjoy Seattle while it's like this because you know what it's going to be afterwards. You know what's going to be. But down there, we noticed something else. On King Street and 2nd, where the old Kingdom Deli was, there's an empty storefront because the Kingdom Deli isn't there anymore. But we noticed signs on the window for protest groups. We also noticed that inside, on the old deli counter, there's buckets filled with pots and pans for noise making, and there's bullhorns set up on the table. There's placards with signs on them on the ground, and there's also banners on the ground. This is the protest staging area. This is what happened last night when Jonathan Cho, Andrea Suarez, and I found this location.
The building is owned by King County. I went and spoke to one of the other people who's renting space over here. King County rented them this space for the World Cup, which means guess who's getting a request for comment?
So Ari Hoffman and I are, doing last-minute checks on the city before the first World Cup match here in Seattle. And we're now in Pioneer Square, and we stumble upon this building that is apparently owned by King County.
There's a storefront here. And in the storefront are all the signs for the activists. And if you look inside, there's piles of their placards in there.
Megaphones.
The megaphones there, they have a table of megaphones.
Yep.
Which means they are getting ready to use this as a staging area for the protest for the World Cup. Now,
on the ground floor, we see all these signs by Local 8. It's apparently a workers' union, and they plan on protesting the embassy suites. They're asking for better wages, a better contract. They hate ICE, they hate Trump, and of course, it's likely being led by Shama Sawan and all her people. Help at the very least bring attention to their cause.
right near King Station, right across from Lumen Field, in the heart of Seattle, they are ready to go, and this is their staging area.
Well, okay, so here's what's so crazy. King County needs to make sure there are no disruptions whatsoever. And yet, this is a King County building, so either King County gave these far-left activists the property to use, or they rented it.
Right, so who paid the bill for a corner retail space across from the stadiums for the World Cup?
This makes no sense.
Gave it to them.
So we're going to try to get to the bottom of this. We need to figure out, again, this group, did they actually get this building for free from King County, or are they renting it?
I'll tell you something else. Guaranteed nobody else in the media is checking on this story because nobody else in the media is covering any of this. They're not checking out the drug encampments. They're not walking the streets. It's just going to be, yay, America, yay, sports, yay, this, yay, that. Instead of covering what's actually happening in our city, where a King County building is renting space to an activist group determined to disrupt the biggest event we've had here in years.
And I'll tell you something, I was pretty ramped up last night. We did that after we went to the homeless encampments. And I shouldn't call them homeless encampments. We did that after we went to the drug scene. And seeing Chinatown.
Did you partake in some of the meth? You seemed pretty amped up there.
Well, I'll tell you something, dude. The amount of secondhand fentanyl exposure I got, holy cow. It wouldn't surprise me. When Cho released that this morning, I go, I don't remember being that ramped up last night. I wonder if it was really secondhand contact. But, I mean, Kevin, we haven't released all the footage of this yet. I haven't shown you most of it yet. I think I showed you one of the clips where we walked and we saw this one guy who's an Asian business owner and his car's being broken into. I think that's the only one I sent you so far. It's insane how bad Chinatown has gone. I mean, even in the last 5 years since I really was spending a lot of time there, it's absolutely crazy.
I used to go down there a lot back in the day when the internet, you couldn't, this is how much of a dork I am. You know, I'm a fan of kickboxing, and in Japan, it's pretty big. There was a place that would rent VHS and DVDs of the events that happened in Japan down there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to watch this stuff because the internet wasn't strong enough to show video yet back in the day.
Yeah.
And I loved going down there. Loved it. The food was great. It was the area was clean. It was awesome when I used to go down there. I'd pop into some of the retro video game shops and all that stuff. It's just sad what's happened.
I used to take my kids down there to go to the pinball museum. We
Yeah,
used to go there pretty regularly to go to the pinball museum, and there's some other stuff nearby we would go to, some of the shops. None of that's there anymore. It's a shell of what it used to be. And I think about when I was a teenager growing up. Kevin, tell me if it's the same thing here. In Chinatown's where you got the knockoff stuff. That's where you used to go in New York. So you get the knockoff sunglasses,
Right.
that kind of stuff. So, but it was safe. Like, you knew the stuff you were getting wasn't legal, but it was still safe. You went down there. I mean, and I know there were some shops like that around here, but it was never a safety issue. Now the whole place has been destroyed by drugs. It's terrible.
There's some historic stuff down there, too. Like, if you go, you can go and see where Bruce Lee's first, I think one of his first martial arts schools was in the basement of one of the buildings there that's still standing. His favorite Chinese food restaurant is still down there, and you could sit where he sat and ate his meals when he went in there. But every time I go down, it just is so beat up and so run down and so taken over by zombies.
Yeah.
That it's sad.
People don't want to be down there anymore. And think about all the businesses that had to leave. And then yesterday, I was actually out on the corner waiting for Cho on 12th and Jackson. And a KVI listener walked by and goes, you're the radio guy, right? And I'm like, yes, I'm the radio guy. And I was girding myself, right? I was steeling myself because I knew, I'm like, okay, this is only going one of two ways. And he goes, I love the show, man. And I said, what are you doing here? He goes, I live here. The rent is cheap. And I go, I get that the rent is cheap, but look what is it worth it? And he goes, well, I'm a couple blocks away. It's not so bad over there. But you want to see where it's really bad, you go around the corner. Here, it's way worse than what you're seeing on 12th and Jackson here. There are places that are worse than 12th and Jackson, which have the zombie hordes in that area, which is what this listener was telling me. I mean, really awful stuff. I ran it by Cho. Cho's like, oh, yeah, bro. Over there, way worse. You wouldn't believe this. In fact, we don't go there without security. In Seattle, Washington. You know, last night, Kevin, what was it yesterday? 88 degrees, 90 degrees or something?
Something like that, yeah.
You see how I was dressed in that video? So let me tell you how I'm dressed, and you can make fun of me a little bit about this. Cho tells me beforehand, okay, here's what you got to do. You got to bring eye protection in case somebody throws something at you and to make sure you don't get any of the drug stuff in your face. I'm like, okay. Do I bring my other protection? Do I go armed? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So me, what do? I got the bulletproof vest on under the sweatshirt. I got the gun underneath that, and it's 90 degrees. So it's really, really hot. How does Cho show up? Cho shows up with his sunglasses. He's literally smoking a cigar, and he's got the shorts on, he's got the flip-flops, and he's got a soccer jersey on.
So his typical going out and about the city attire that he wears.
The way that he always looks. Andrea Suarez, soccer jersey, short sleeves, everything. I feel like such a wuss because Cho told me this is how you got to get geared up, but he's so used to it that it's just secondhand for him. I think I was about to get mugged by a guy who didn't realize I was packing until he saw me packing when I was stripping off the sweatshirt and the gear and all that near my car. I think I was about to get mugged last night in the area where I was. And then he saw the gun. This is where it is in Seattle, Washington, that now I got to bring a Glock with me when I go out in Chinatown, the International District, because that's how bad it's gotten. Is anybody else covering this? I bet if you go to the front page of Fox 13, Como News, Cairo 7, King 5, it's just going to be, who played today? Egypt and Belgium or something like that? It's just going to be the scores of the World Cup. Go out to the floating raft. Nobody's covering this. Nobody's covering this because they're not paying attention to it or they don't have the balls to do it. That's what it is. It was scary going out there, but you know what? We make sure to bring you guys the news. So that way you know what's going on. And they can hide all this stuff, but it's a lot like a kid who's cleaning up because they know the parents are coming to check out their room. That's Katie Wilson. I mean, she still lived at home until like yesterday, right? So it's basically shove all your dirty laundry in the closet, shove all your papers and junk under the bed. That's basically what they did in Seattle. Just shoved everything in the closet and under the bed. That's what they did here in Seattle. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. One local business owner has had it with human trafficking, and he's taken his message to the streets and telling everybody about it so that he has the biggest audience to hear about it at the World Cup. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We know that human trafficking is a huge problem here in Washington. Saw it with my own two eyes last night when I was down in the Chinatown International District and up on Beacon Hill. But one local business owner has decided to do something about it. Joining us now on the KVI studio line is Mike Dunn from Dunn Lumber. Thank you so much for being with us today, sir.
Happy to do it.
So tell me what inspired you to take on this project. What exactly are you guys doing? As I understand it, you're putting up this giant banner calling attention to this. What's going on?
Well, a few years ago, we started working with Christine Moreland from The More We Love and just supporting her and her efforts to get girls off the street and provide a safe shelter for them and often their kids. It was her that teamed up with DNA Marketing to do from their part, a pro bono campaign to dissuade Johns from buying sex. And we were happy to jump in, and we got a nice stretch of wall right there on Aurora, right in the heart of the blade, and so it went up today, and we're excited for hopefully to make an impact.
What's been the reaction from the people out on the streets? I mean, has it dissuaded anybody, or are other business owners coming over to you and saying they support you?
Well, we have had a lot of support. We alerted our customers just so they wouldn't be shocked to see what was on the wall, and immediately got a flood of positive responses.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We're talking with Mike Dunn, who's in charge of Dunn Lumber over there, and they're doing their best to root out sex trafficking. What is the kind of stuff you typically see in front of your business out there? I know the stuff I saw in Chinatown last night.
Well, it's been going on for a long time, but it definitely has gotten worse over the last few years. The girls seem to be getting younger, and the aggressiveness of the solicitations is increasing. I think that's because they're all in competition and they're under a lot of pressure to bring in the cash or face the consequences with their pimps.
Are you seeing the same cars over and over again, or are you seeing more and more cars coming out there, more and more business, more and more traffic?
You'd have to ask Christine about that, because we sit inside the store. When we go out, we experience it. Sometimes we see the same girls day after day. We don't often actually get to see a John picking up a girl, and I think there's actually a strip mall just a couple blocks away where they tend to pull in and pick them up. And that's I know that Christine's got her folks down there with signs and trying to dissuade the Johns from using the parking lot.
Gotcha. So what you're saying basically is the stuff the city's been doing hasn't really been working, that it's only really been increasing or staying the same, at least. It's kind of just is. It's now part of the fabric of the community, unfortunately.
Right. They've stopped giving tickets. They've stopped sending letters to Johns. Not that was doing anything before. And there just aren't enough police really to manage the amount of violence and well, even just reporting gunshots doesn't get the police to come. You've got to somebody's got to be hit.
Right, which is unfortunate. In the last few minutes we have with Mike Dunn from Dunn Lumber. So have you heard from any city officials? We know there was that big march last weekend where people were marching for the city to do something. But have you heard from any officials?
No, I hope so. I mean, I hope we will. Nothing so far. Then it just went up today. So we've been talking about it for a week, but it actually is just now on the building. Gotcha. I've got an amazing picture of two girls standing on the sidewalk pondering the meaning of this sign with with one hand on a hip. You just wonder what's going on in their heads.
If you could send that to me, you got my email address. If you could send that on over, we'd appreciate it, because that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. That would be a great cover picture for the article with the interview with you when we put it up on the website. Mike Dunn from Dunn Lumber, you're doing something that businesses shouldn't have to do, but amazing on you for stepping up. And everybody should go out there, and if you have lumber needs, you should support Mike Dunn over at Dunn Lumber and go on out there and help him out, because he's trying to make Seattle a better place.
Thank you, Ari.
Yeah, such a pleasure. Next time we have to have you on under better circumstances. We'll talk about building something with lumber, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks so much for what you're doing. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Pivoting it over now to what's going on in the Middle East. I got a lot of people asking me, Ari, what's with the peace deal? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And I say, I have no clue. And the reason I have no idea is nobody's actually seen this thing. You know, Trump can talk about whatever he wants to talk about. Pakistan's minister can talk about whatever they want to talk about. Iran can talk about whatever they want to talk about. I don't know if any of them are telling the truth because I haven't actually seen the thing yet. Can somebody please show us what this thing actually looks like? And then we can weigh in on it. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Walls, said this earlier today.
This is going to be, in terms of any unfrozen assets or sanctions relief, what's called pay for performance. There will not be upfront cash, so to speak, that we saw in the Obama deal and the JCPOA with literally pallets of cash because the Iranian banking system was dysfunctional being flown in. So that's an important difference. And then secondarily, this is all about verification. And there were huge gaps in the JCPOA and the Obama nuclear deal in terms of actually verifying what we know the Iranians have tended to cheat on in the past. There were not anytime, anywhere inspections of their facilities. The Iranians could delay things. They could choose which list of inspectors they accepted or not. And most importantly, Martha, the Iranians could classify sites as military sites that were then off limits. That's like having, I don't know, a criminal on parole telling the parole officer, you can't check this bedroom or that bedroom, or you can only check the trunk of my car, and I'll dictate to you when you could come. So a lot of that is very much going to be worked out, but I can promise you that we are not going to have these massive loopholes, whether it's working with the UN's IAEA or other form of inspectors. This is all about verifications, and no one on this team is just going to take the Iranians at their word.
Okay, that's good, but what are we giving them? Are we rebuilding Iran? Are we lifting sanctions? Are we opening the Strait of Hormuz? What's actually happening? I would love to tell you that President Trump has negotiated the greatest deal of all time. You've never seen a better deal than this. I would love to tell you that, but I don't know that. I don't know it because they haven't released the text of the deal yet. A lot of media outlets are picking up on whatever Iran is releasing. Now, these are the same guys who reported whatever Hamas said, so we shouldn't be surprised. I don't believe anything Iran ever says. So what did the vice president say today about the agreement? Because it was kind of what the U.S. ambassador said.
Yeah, Gail, as you know, sometimes with these agreements, there are some diplomatic protocols, some technical things to work out. But we plan to release the full text this week. We want the American people to see it. But we've also seen, of course, some misreporting about what's actually in the agreement. We've seen some accurate reporting about what's in the agreement. I think the most important thing for the American people to appreciate is that what this agreement does is really twofold. On the one hand, it ensures that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon while simultaneously opening the Strait of Hormuz. You already see oil prices from a high of $126 a barrel down to about $80 a barrel today. That's a lot of progress. But it also, Gail, fundamentally extends a hand to Iran and says, look, if you guys are willing to honor your obligations, if you're willing to allow real inspections of your nuclear program, then we will welcome you back into the world economy. I think what the President of the United States wants to do is turn over a leaf of 47 years of a failed relationship between the United States and Iran, but that requires the Iranians to actually honor their end of the bargain. So when people say that billions of dollars of assets will be released, that's not true. What is true is that Iran will have a much better and much more prosperous future if they meet the obligations they make in this agreement. We'll, of course, see. That's one of the things we're going to work out in the technical talks that will follow the official signing on Friday.
And I still don't know anything. I still don't know anything about this deal. I want to know things about this deal. I still don't know anything about the deal. What did the president have to say about this?
Mr. President, does the deal involve any sanctions relief for Iran? When would that go into effect?
No, it doesn't. Well, they have to. It's really a behavioral thing. If they do what they're supposed to do, that starts taking effect.
Okay, so it's behavioral, and we don't know anything else about it. And that's only what the U.S. is claiming. Iran, meanwhile, is claiming they're getting $300 billion to rebuild everything. They're getting all the sanctions lifted. They get to toll the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know anything because I haven't seen the text yet. Need the actual text so we can know what's actually going on. And the reason you listen to the Ari Hoffman Show is so that you know what's actually going on, like what's going on out in Spokane, Washington. We've got a new lefty running for office out there whose father is apparently spewing anti-Semitic remarks. The son says, oh, we're going to take care of it. It's a mess out there. Luckily, there's one Republican running for office out there against these guys who's going to straighten it all out for us. We'll talk to her when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, there's a little bit of video that went viral over the last week or so with one of the Washington Human Rights Commissioners who went on a massive anti-Semitic screed and said that's why he didn't want to oppose anti-Semitism. Now, you may wonder, who cares? Who cares what the Washington Human Rights Commission does? Well, it turns out his son is actually running for office out in Spokane. And the son seems to be pretty convinced that this may cost him the election, because it turns out this isn't the first misstep his father took, and this isn't the first misstep the candidate himself took. Now, before we discuss any of that, I always like to say that you have other options. You have other people you can vote for here in Washington. And joining us now, who's running for the 3rd legislative district out there in eastern Washington, Natalie Polson. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Natalie, I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your campaign. I don't want to talk about this insanity right now. So tell me, why'd you decide to get into this crazy race given the political climate here in Washington?
Well, I've been in Spokane my entire life, born and raised, went to, out there in the Valley University High School and then on to Gonzaga. So Spokane means a lot to me. And so I like to say I'm a mom on a mission for the people of Spokane. I truly feel that they have been voting the same way for well over 30 years. And it's time for change, real change, somebody that will actually listen to them, put families first, care about affordability, and make a difference.
That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. How could you be so practical? Don't you know you're supposed to be spending government money on like surgeries for trans inmates and things like that?
Yeah, I'm definitely one for the free market system and believe that we need to be putting families first and not just always saying that the government's going to save.
Gotcha.
Obviously has not happened.
So I assume you would be opposed to the income tax, which the Democrats just passed, right?
I very much am. I'm collecting many signatures. I've put on a lot of events across multiple counties. So that, along with the initiative of proof of citizenship to vote.
That's great. That's absolutely great. Now, there's 2 other questions I usually ask candidates before we get fully behind them here on the show. Regarding the initiatives, there are 2 others that have already qualified for the ballot, one to keep boys out of girls' sports and one to protect parental rights. How do you feel about those?
I am a firm believer, a parent myself of 3 children, and they are definitely my children. So I feel that I should have that right as a parent. I'm their first guide, their first person that they look up to, and I should be involved in my child's life. So parental rights is very important to me.
This is way too much common sense. Way too much.
It really is. And I hope we can start bringing the 3rd back into common sense. And as far as boys and girls sports, isn't there a reason why women fought so hard to have separate sports? So I feel you either need 3 leagues or you need to leave it as it is.
I really appreciate that perspective. I really, really do. We're talking with Natalie Polson, who's running for the Washington State Legislature in Washington's 3rd legislative district. Let's say you get elected to office on day 1. What do you first want to set your sights on? What do you want to do?
Well, number one is we have to have affordable. Washington has become unaffordable, and it's all the way from the housing crisis to all these other initiatives, or I should say legislation. Sorry, my mind's on initiatives right now, but legislation that just adds cost after cost. And I don't think people are making the connection. So let's talk about housing. For example, these constant rules and regulations, adding one more thing. Natural gas. Didn't we push in the 90s to have everybody move to natural gas? Now we want to ban it and automatically put at least $10,000 on every new build. And yes, renters, that comes down to you too. So they're not going to just eat that cost. So it makes housing just unaffordable.
Yep, along with everything else around here that's unaffordable. I was giving out KVI swag at an event recently. I said, here, it's the only free thing in Washington. And people were kind of giggling. Now, let's talk about your opponent for a second here. By the way, I could tell about this individual. He's a far-left activist who really doesn't have many accomplishments, but seems to have the backing of the Democrat establishment. Is that about par for the course? Because I look at the Washington State Legislature, and I see a lot of people who've never had a real job before in their lives. What's your experience?
Well, my experience is I've worked since I was 15 years old, so I've definitely always worked. And as far as my opponent, I know that he has been appointed by Inslee and then went along with Ferguson. So he's been appointed into positions, and it would be nice to see a little bit more merit.
Yes, and also what's interesting is they kept the same person through 2 different administrations, which means that kind of smells of the swamp here in mini Washington, which is what we see here all the time. In the last few minutes we have with Natalie Polson, who's running for the legislature in the 3rd legislative district that's out in Spokane, Washington. Natalie, what's your reaction to your opponent's father being part of that Human Rights Commission? Because your opponent is saying, well, don't judge me by my father, and yet that means you grew up in the house with the guy, so aren't you shaped by their opinions and ideas?
Absolutely. Parents shape their children's worldview. So if Luke Jasmine, I guess is junior, my opponent is Luke Jasmine the third, he should clearly denounce his father's comments and not just offer this vague statement about Jewish community having our back. I don't even know what that means. So do you share his views? Because I think people in the third, we need leaders who reject hatred and don't make some vague excuses for their fathers.
Yeah, what's even more stunning to me is Luke Jasmine, I don't know if you saw this yet, the second, who's the father of your opponent, said that the Human Rights Commission regularly bashes people during these meetings, different groups. I'm not sure that's the best people we should be having on the Human Rights Commission, do you?
Absolutely not. If we want to talk about anti-Semitism, it really has no place in public life, let alone a Human Rights Commission. Aren't they supposed to be protecting civil rights for all? So that would be very concerning that my opponent is not going to service all people or his constituents, especially the Jewish community.
Couldn't agree more. Now I want you to think about this, my friends. If you're not Jewish and you go, how does this appeal to me? You think they're going to service anybody who doesn't agree with them politically? If they have this hatred towards one specific group, what do you think their hatred is towards other groups as well?
Serving in Olympia requires sound judgment, so this is very concerning, right? If his father promotes anti-Semitism on a state commission for human rights, it definitely raises a question about influences around the candidate and whether he'll stand for all his constituents.
If people want to volunteer for your campaign, if they want to help out, if they want to donate, if they want to learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Friendsofnatalie.com. Very easy to remember. Friends of Natalie.
Friendsofnatalie.com. Real simple. Natalie Paulson, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news headlines, just to remind everybody, we got two contests going on today. The first one, if you want to go see Chris Tucker at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel Ballroom on Friday, June 26th, you have a chance to win 2 free tickets by texting the word RUSH. As in, Chris Tucker was in Rush Hour. Text the word RUSH, R-U-S-H, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Number 2 contest. The Bremerton Air Show is taking flight July 11th through 12th at the Bremerton National Airport. The show will be a celebration of classic military aircraft and world-class aerobatic performers. We are going to be out there on July 12th. We will be out there so you can come hang out with us. But we are giving away 4 tickets to the Bremerton Air Show. Now, the only way you can enter this contest is over at KVI.com. Head on over to KVI.com. They will give you some information. You will get your chance to win right there at KVI.com. So head on over there for your chance to red, white, and win over at KVI.com. Also, don't forget, there's new articles up. There's new content up. So you get lots of good stuff over there at KVI.com. And while you're there, sign up to be a KVI Insider. So that way, you never miss any contests. You never miss any events. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. Lots of good stuff over there. All right, my friends, switching gears. So yesterday, it's boat season. It's boat season. That's right. My happy place is out on the boat that I share with my in-laws. So I like taking out the boat. And yesterday, high demand. Hot day, got the boat, high demand. One of the places I love to go is actually over in Renton. I take the boat from where I keep it near my house, take it over to Renton to where the Hyatt Regency Hotel is. You know where that is? They got this beautiful dock over there. They got a few restaurants. They got a food truck. You get some drinks out there. I have never seen it so packed yesterday. Never seen it so packed. And then I realized, oh, dummy head. You're going to a fun touristy place which has a hotel during the World Cup. Now it's fine. We got a table. We had a couple drinks. It was great. But you know what's so nice? Is that seeing Seattle the way it could be, seeing Renton the way it should be, seeing these places packed and filled with people. Lots of soccer jerseys, lots of people who don't speak English, lots of people not from Seattle who do speak English. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. And I've been talking about this with my friends in news. Look, my friends in news and I do not agree on a lot of things politically, but we all agree on this, is that it's so nice to see Seattle the way it should be. Enjoy it while you have it. We have these 5 weeks for the World Cup. Enjoy it for now, because you know what happens afterwards. It goes back to the Seattle we rant and rave about all the time. So, just a reminder, get out there and enjoy it while you can. Took the boat out there, had a great time, met this nice fella who had a boat who was having a little trouble docking. We helped him out. He had a better physique than me, so at least I know I'm better at something than that dude is. So anyway, I felt really good about myself, had a lovely conversation about religion. He was talking about Jesus a lot. I didn't have a frame of reference, but we had a great time. Had some drinks. Everybody's having fun. Everybody was having a great time. It's how Seattle should be. And those of you who are like, I'm never going to Seattle, never going down there again. Guys, this is your chance to go. This is a chance to go down. Okay, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Look at the weather outside. Though the weather leaves something to desire, because this is not the way it normally is. What's with this muggy, humid garbage? We don't normally get this. What's with the humidity? I feel like I'm on the East Coast around here. I moved out here to get away from that kind of stuff. I like my Seattle summers. Not complaining. Not complaining. Sun is out. It's lovely. It's fantastic. But anywho, go check it out. In other news, I don't know if you heard of this. It starts off bad, it ends good, I promise. In Boston, last week, police were looking for 2 suspects who staged an armed robbery of a kid's lemonade stand. I kid you not, they knocked over a kid's lemonade stand. This is crazy. That's how bad things are in Boston. How much money does a lemonade stand make? $1.25, maybe, if they're lucky, because they're always selling them for like 25 cents or whatever it is. Okay, somebody tried to hold up the lemonade stand. So what happens? The kids open their lemonade stand again the next day. Thousands of people came out to support the kids. That's Boston strong. I love that kind of stuff. They go on out there. Also, I saw this story from our friends over at Como News. I mentioned earlier the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Renton, which I love going out to with the boat. So apparently leftover banquet food at the Hyatt Regency Lake Washington is getting a second life in the community through a partnership designed to keep untouched meals from going to waste. The hotel, located between Boeing and Jean Coulon Park, has teamed up with OSL Serves, a food rescue nonprofit that collects high-quality meals and redistributes them to people in need. Executive Chef Azad Rawat said the food can help build a connection. He says there's a saying, when you share a table with someone, it gives you more understanding about the people and the culture. He said the hotel's approach to events and catering includes an emphasis on local, fresh, and sustainable products. So focus is more towards providing guests more local, more fresh, more sustainable products, which definitely impacts the carbon footprint. Isn't that nice, too? Part of the effort includes safely handling foods that return from banquets untouched. They're not taking the scraps, by the way. I had a friend who worked in the restaurant business. I go, dude, you're so busy. When do you have time to eat? He goes, whatever they bring back to the kitchen. I go, I'm sorry, what? And he worked at a really high-end place, I go, you're eating off other people's food? He goes, yeah, if they didn't touch it, what's the problem? I go, well, then that says something about your cooking, doesn't it? He goes, no, there's picky eaters out there. You know, they don't touch the vegetables. They don't touch this. I nosh on that when it comes back. I'm like, dude, I'm never telling anybody what restaurant you work at. That is disgusting. But still kind of makes a little bit of sense. He says, well, most of the food goes out to the banquets, but whenever it comes back, food which isn't touched, we have a blast chiller downstairs. In the process, the untouched food goes inside the blast chiller. We cool it down. He means stuff from a buffet. He doesn't mean from people's plates, guys. The Hyatt Regency prepares 30,000 to 40,000 pounds of food a year. Holy cow, that's a lot of stuff that you have leftovers from. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. Fear not, we'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.